You know, most people really dislike video games based on a cartoon because more than half of them are pretty bad. Hell, AVGN desperately hates Bugs Bunny games with a great passion. In fact, there are hardly any good Looney Tunes games. Except for a couple exceptions in my opinion. One Looney Tunes game that not that many people know of is a Looney Tunes game that stayed true to where it came from, and stayed true to the magic that Looney Tunes has in its cartoons. That game is Bugs Bunny Lost in Time for Windows and the Sony PlayStation. This is a really underrated 3D platformer that not that many Looney Tunes fans know of. So my duty is to represent this game to the Looney Tunes fans out there that's really missing something special. Unlike other Looney Tunes games, Bugs Bunny Lost in Time is something that all Looney Tunes fans really need to play. So let's begin this review. The story begins when once again Bugs Bunny was trying to go to a trip to Pismo Beach but should have made the left turn to Albuquerque. But only this time, he ended up in a factory and found a machine, thinking that it's a Carriage juice dispenser. After activating it, it was, after all, a time machine, and ended up in a time era called Nowhere. Finding a giant watchtower, Bugs Bunny went in and met a sorcerer named Merlin, seen in a Looney Tunes episode called Nightmare Hare. Merlin, one of the most underrated Looney Tunes character ever, helps Bugs Bunny on his quest to get back to his time by collecting these clocks from one era to another to help him open new locations, and help him to progress to present time. And thus, Bugs Bunny has begun a new adventure, but only this time, he's in the 3D platformer. If you see my video game genre videos on 3D platformer, you should already know that I categorize Bugs Bunny Lost in Time as a task and exploration type of 3D platformer, where the gameplay is like Banjo-Kazooie, where you select a level and have a non-linear world, have a lot of locations to go, and collect numbers of collectibles until you collect everything important in that level. Bugs Bunny Lost in Time does it very well by giving us a huge adventure, and if you're like me that loves collecting stuff, this is your type of game, even if you're not a Looney Tunes fan. You have major collectibles such as clocks that are the object of the game because there are certain levels that requires you to get a certain number of clocks in order to reach that area. You can get these clocks by getting into certain locations, in-level mini-games, and collecting certain number of golden carrots and breaking certain number of Acme boxes to retrieve a clock. But after you exit the level, Merlin will show up and ask you to save your game and tell you what you're missing or if you fully completed the level. Bugs Bunny has abilities such as kicking, jumping, hovering in midair, roll to get into small holes, tiptoeing for sneaking and stealth, picking up objects and use them for certain purposes, pushing boulders, diving into rabbit holes, and so much more. Bugs also has lives that can regenerate by collecting regular carrots by taking out enemies or lines of them from the ground. What's so awesome about this 3D platformer is that Bugs Bunny has no continues, which means you can fuck up so many times and not worry about the consequences except trying to reach to the next checkpoint. You can also make a save point on a checkpoint you reach because there are a lot of levels that are so long that you need to start somewhere the next time you begin the game. Bugs Bunny's Lost in Time's level designs are based off some of the best episodes of Bugs Bunny, which fits in this game in traveling through time. Even if you don't know what episode is the level is based on, the load screen will tell you what episode is so that you can get a chance to watch it if you missed it. But there are some levels in the game that has nothing to do with the episode, but that's okay because they have to redesign it into a level that really fits in this game. But in those levels, you're bound to see not all, but some of your favorite Looney Tunes characters in this game. But each of them are in different time zones, and you have time eras such as the Stone Age, headed by Elmer Fudd, the Pirate Years, headed by Yosemite Sam, the 1930s, headed by Rocky and Muggsy, the Medieval Times, headed by Hazel the Witch and Daffy Duck as Robin Hood, and Dimension X, headed by Marvin the Martian. Each of those time eras have homeworlds that has a number of levels to select and a number of clocks to collect. You're bound to have some boss fights with some of these characters, and it works quite well if you ask me. Most of all, I love the cel shading graphics, which makes the 3D platformer look like a cartoon, because sometimes when a cartoon is forced to become a 3D game, they don't look quite as good as they were in the show, but in Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, it really does look amazing, especially for its time. In fact, watching those cutscenes where they took a scene from an episode looked like a reimagining of the scene. Also, having an episode to be one level is something that works. From Bugs Bunny traveling through a castle, encountering dragons, traveling in Marvin the Martian spaceship, and so much more that made me wonder what's it really like to visit more of these settings as a kid, has given me the full experience in this game. Platforming in this game is something that's really great, as it does fit in the game even if it had nothing to do with the episode. Some levels has a lot of chasing as seen in the episode, and a lot of challenges that really puts your platforming skills to the test. Also, like in Banjo-Kazooie, you can't get into certain locations yet because you haven't got the power/ability to use in order to get to that location, and you cannot reach with your current ability. You need to visit Merlin in certain levels in the game, and he'll give you a magic word that will activate and trigger some obstacles, such as opening doors, waking the bird to fly and carry you to places that you cannot reach, jumping on high locations, magically summon objects that helps you to reach obstacles, and so much more, where all you have to do is step on the platform and press the action button, and only certain platforms you stand on will give you the advantage of using your magic. What's one thing that every game has a problem with, but this game does well, is it has one of the best timer I have ever seen in the game. I mean, whenever you play a game and you get an object, activate something, or transform, they don't give you a timer, but a music or a clicking sound effect like a timer, and you can't tell how long it lasts until you memorize it, which irritates me like hell. But in Bugs Bunny Lost in Time has an excellent timer that pops up a clock, giving you a specific amount of time you have until the black hand reaches the red line. This is something that not that many video games has never improved on, but Bugs Bunny made this flaw that are in many games fixed. And it's a shame that this game was made in 1999 and we're still having trouble getting a timer whenever we have a specific time for a power-up or the usage of the object. However, there are a couple levels in this game that I never really liked. Levels like What's Up Doc, Follow That Rabbit, Planet X-Files, and the Carrot Factory that was way too long to finish. Those levels took over an hour to finish due to its length, rarely any checkpoints, and challenges that continues to stump me. This really is a problem for me when there's too many things to collect in that level, and missing one thing would mean that I would have to spend another hour or so finding what I missed, which feels like a chore. Speaking of chores, my least favorite level in the entire game is the final level. Not because of the clever platforming challenge or the fast-paced action, because those are the reasons why this level would have been my favorite, but it ruined everything for that stupid guessing challenge where you have to find the secret combination to beat the machine, where I have to set the colors by pressing buttons to activate, finding highlighted spots in order to get good spots, and having to face the same color which never appears twice in a row. So you have to redo the colors to find the crown symbols in a row, so you only have 5 chances of winning. Otherwise, if you don't get to the right colors up to chance number 5, you restart all over. As a kid, I never complete this challenge until a year later since I got the game, which really was a long time to finish, and to this day as an adult, it's nothing but a guessing game and I still have trouble finishing it. And not to spoil anything, but the ending wasn't anything special for me. But those are the only things that I don't like about this game. The best part of this game are some of the levels. I always love levels that are atmospheric or gives me a warm feeling every time I play it. Levels like Magic Hair Blower, where they made the first level into night and made it dark and challenging to sneak past the enemy and give new passageways. I also like the medieval period where all the levels in that home world are really great levels. My favorite level in the entire game is the Carriage Hinge Mystery, where it's all snowy and you encounter Daffy Duck as Robin Hood trying to mess around with you, and it's really non-linear where you have so many places to go. I mean, I played a lot of Looney Tunes games that didn't have the same atmosphere as the cartoon, but this one has it all because of the voice acting, design, sound effect, music, and every episode of Looney Tunes that the level is reviving. This is probably the best presentation a Looney Tunes game has to offer, and it has high replay value minus the flaws because the reasons I mentioned. As a huge Looney Tunes fan that's really satisfied with this game, I give Bugs Bunny Lost in Time a 5 fingers out of 5. So that's my review of Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. So if you like this review, give a thumbs up, post a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And stay tuned for my next review on the sequel, Bugs Bunny and Taz: Time Busters.